Ben Reilly has faced many threats during his tenure as Spider-Man. However, he faces a unique challenge when Beyond Corporation demands that he carry out a cease and desist order against the Brooklyn Spider-Man, against Miles Morales. Meanwhile, what does Peter Parker do during his time off while recovering in the hospital? Now, before we jump into the pages of The Amazing Spider-Man, know that I am your majestic sayo of words, SuperCliff, and if you guys like this video, make sure to smash that like and subscribe button in order to show your support to the channel, and so that you'll never miss out on an upload, and that you'll always be kept up to date with your favorite top tier comics happening in the comic book world. Thus, with all that said, let's get this show on the road. Starting off with The Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 81. And our story picks up with an entity that is calling itself RISM, and it's attacking Brooklyn. Therefore, Marcus gives Ben a mission report, with orders from Beyond to intercept and resolve the creature's rampage. It's also here where Marcus reminds Ben that taking on RISM is a PR opportunity to show that Beyond Spider-Man can take care of the whole city. In addition, Marcus reminds Ben to talk with the Brooklyn Spider-Man about changing his name due to Beyond's copyright on Spider-Man. Afterwards, Ben checks in with Janine, letting her know that he's getting ready to venture off on a mission. Now it's here where Janine wonders about Ben's well-being, given his recent fight with Kraven, but Ben assures her that he has received ample healing, and with that the two kiss and he promises her that he will be back for dinner. Outfitted now with a new rocket glider gadget, Ben speeds over to the East River, right into Brooklyn, to which Marcus lets him know that the fuel he burns is equal to an electrical jet. Basically, don't waste our money, bro. Now upon Ben's arrival, he is met with confusion as the locals are looking for wounded and personal belongings, asking Spider-Man for his help. But Ben refuses since, that is not part of the mission. That is not part of the assignment. However, beneath the mask, Ben clearly doesn't feel good about, just having to be so dedicated to the mission. He doesn't feel like Spider-Man. And with that, the Brooklyn Spider-Man, Miles Morales, swings through, and he asks the same thing, noting Ben's voice is similar, yet different from the original Spider-Man that he knows. And so with it being established that the Spider-Man is not Peter Parker, Miles thinks he's some kind of clone or imposter Spider-Man. But regardless of who he is, Miles is considering him dangerous, and thus the two Spider-Men fight. Ben explains that he has Peter's blessing to be Spider-Man when Peter landed in the hospital, and since then he's gotten help from Beyond. But Miles gets angry by just the mention of Beyond Corporation, because Beyond is suing him for illegally using the trademark Spider-Man name. But the two Spider-Men eventually calm down after saving a group of civilians from a collapsing wall. And so realizing that they actually have met before in past multiversal Spider-Man events, they spend a few minutes locating and fighting RISM, who's raging all throughout the neighborhood. And despite their best efforts, RISM counters their attacks. And so the two Spider-Men coordinate, with Ben webbing the creature only for Miles to venom blast it, successfully downing the monster. Now sensing an electronic device at its core, Miles short-circuits it to find a man attached to some horticultural control technology, some plant-like tech. And Miles recognizes that the tech is used from the Assessor, which is going on in his main book, who is in the business of creating super monsters. And so with a successful team-up, Ben goes back to Beyond to report while Miles investigates on his own, both departing on good terms. At Beyond, Ben arrives to find Maxine Danger instead of Marcus, who she states is undergoing disciplinary action, since he was the one in charge of Ben and he didn't highlight the importance of Beyond's copyright ownership and the cease and desist order of the Spider-Man trademark against Brooklyn Spider-Man. Now Ben states that he did what he could, but Maxine's silence partly indicates her acceptance of such action. Yet Maxine resumes by returning to her speech about Beyond's investment into Ben's mission as Spider-Man, from the resources to counseling to living space, and even bringing up the cost of his apartment and Janine's freedom from prison. Maxine concludes that, Beyond sees Ben's potential to be a first-class hero, but only if he does what is necessary to be a hero. Minutes later, after asking Ben if he'll live up to that potential or throw it away, Maxine is approached by Beyond tech support, confirming her suspicions of the company being investigated. And so finding out that Dr. Otto Octavius is digging deeper into Beyond and the company's secrets, Maxine views her octopus problem as something mendable, as Beyond specializes in solutions. And as she holds a canister of the horticultural mess from the RISM monster in her hand, she is currently contemplating the next solution. And that's what's going to take us to The Amazing Spider-Man issue number 82, where our story picks up with Peter Parker being relocated from a coma ward to a new hospital room, to where he is hilariously greeted by roommate Rico, who's starting conversation talking about the recent baseball game. However, an unknown orderly enters to relocate Rico, despite his already recent move-in. And as Mary Jane arrives, both hear Rico's wife demanding to see her husband, only for the same orderly to lie about Rico's whereabouts. Once Mary Jane tucks Peter into bed, the orderly returns, lying again, stating that visiting hours are to end due to special circumstances. Now Mary Jane leaves, but at the same time, she's beginning to suspect that some weird things are happening in the hospital. After a while, Peter wakes up again to see another new roommate, complain about being overdue for discharge, as the same orderly arrives to take her away, and the pain from Peter's attempted intervention knocks him out again. Waking up later, the orderly finally comes for Peter, who demands answers as to why the orderly lied to Rico's wife and where he took both former patients. The on-phase orderly notes how nosy Peter is, increasing his medication dosage to render him unconscious. Now fading in and out, the orderly takes Peter further down the hospital into a barely illuminated room under the hospital in a decommissioned operating room. The orderly reveals himself as a carnivorous monster, revealing it can only eat victims in the dark, where its true shape can take form, as the creature also tells Peter that light burns its skin like wildfire. But it's here where Mary Jane reveals herself and uses the flash on her phone to stun the monster. In pain, the monster lunges and knocks out her phone, forcing Mary Jane to move to a light switch that Peter tells her is at the entrance to the room. Although caught, Mary Jane pains the monster long enough to flip the switch and pushes the on button. With the monster incinerated by the intense light, Peter faints not long after standing up, to which Mary Jane tells him to learn to rest or else he could kill himself. Elsewhere in the Manhattan sewers, Colleen Wing and Misty Knight are in pursuit of a target assigned to them by Maxine Danger. Eventually, after the pair banter back and forth, the tracker soon brings both heroines right onto their target of pursuit, the Lizard, to where we see the animalistic villain stand defensively, cornered at a sewer junction, and ready to fight. And that was both The Amazing Spider-Man issue numbers 81 and 82. Both of these issues see Saladin Ahmed taking over writing duties. Now, of course, Ahmed has done wonders while writing for the main Miles Morales book, and so it only makes sense for him to write issue 81 and to have both Ben and Miles face off on his watch. Not to mention that, in Miles' book, he's having to deal with his own clone saga, clones for days. Another Spidey alumni joins the creative team as Gomez takes up artistic duties. Now, Gomez has previously illustrated issues for The Amazing Spider-Man, as well as the recent Beyond one-shot and The Amazing Mary Jane miniseries. And so this guy is no stranger to drawing wall crawlers. And hot damn, I love this anime-esque art. It's absolutely a wonder to behold, especially since the comic has fantastic coloring, and Valanza is an extremely gifted colorist. True to Spidey fashion, red and blue are the most prominent colors in the story, especially where Ben's suit is concerned. The high-tech sleekness of Ben's suit also provides a nice contrast to Miles' more streetwear influenced look, as well as its red and black coloring scheme. When it comes to issue 82, Ahmed uses the issue as a departure from the Beyond saga and effectively sets up a single issue story that also acts as an effective horror tale. His script perfectly ratchets up the dread as patients slowly end up going missing, and Peter, who's still in pain from the battle with the UFOs, can't use his arachnid abilities to protect himself. Therefore, it causes a ton of tension when the creepy alien guy takes Peter down into the basement for dinner. Joining Ahmed on art duties is Forns, and to use a now outdated meme, dude perfectly understood the assignment. Forns is an artist with an incredible skill in handcrafting facial expressions, like how a sculptor crafts a stone statue. There's believability in the faces of these characters that make them all look so real. The orderly himself looks utterly horrifying. His eyes are yellowed and emotionless, his skin is swallow, and he speaks in a tone that sent chills up my spine. Believe it or not, his true form is even more horrifying. Paired with Thorne's ability to draw high-detailed environments, this book has an edge to it that allows the danger Peter is in to feel extremely real. There's also some incredible use of blur effects to create an effect scene in the preview that adds to the danger of the scene. The layout design is also on point, reminding readers that Thorne's ability to control pace is second to none. If you like 9-panel grids, then you'll definitely love this issue. Overall, both issues, though extremely different from one another, are still quite enjoyable. 81's story is very predictable, but hopefully in the future issues we see a better interaction between both Ben and Miles. And when it comes to issue number 82, it's quite honestly a perfectly constructed standalone that veers much so into the horror territory. Perhaps one day Salih Ahmed will take on a 6-issue mini with Spider-Man getting lost in the sewers, only to be hunted by the Lizard. Both the Amazing Spider-Man issues number 81 and 82 get an 8 out of 10. Now, of course, thank you guys so much for checking out my video. And again, if you guys like this video, then definitely make sure to smash that like and subscribe button in order to show your support to the channel, because in this YouTubing world, that stuff goes a long way. Now tell me, what were your thoughts and opinions on these issues? Are you guys excited for Patrick Gleason's issue number 83? Let me know down in the comment section below. And until the next video, peace.